The Locked On Podcast Network presents the NFL Big 3 in 30. The three biggest stories in the NFL from our local experts at the Locked On Podcast Network. We bring you the real story, why it matters, what's next, who wins the big game, and more, all in 30 minutes. The NFL Big 3 in 30 starts now with the biggest story in the NFL.
Jordan Love threw 3 touchdown passes, and Keyshawn Nixon sealed the deal as the Green Bay Packers move into first place in the NFC North.
You are Locked On Packers, your daily Green Bay Packers podcast.
It was the offense that won the Green Bay Packers this football game. They scored 28 points. It certainly could have been even more, 6.5 yards per play for this offense, and they were hunting explosives from the very first play, the very first drive. They thought, they being the Packers, thought they could go up and down the field on this Bears team. And had things gone just a little different here or there, they could have. They still scored 28 points in this game. They scored 14 in the first half, 14 in the second half. Right on pace. And when this offense needed the juice, when they needed to make their plays, they did. The turning point in this game to me, not to preempt the squad show we're going to do later, came in the late second quarter. And I'm wondering why Matt LaFleur is not calling timeout late in the half. They run the ball on first down. They throw a short pass on second down. And I'm like, okay, here we go again. And then they take their shot. And Jordan Love hits Bo Melton for a touchdown that puts you up 14-3. Now, I understand the Bears come back. They do all the things that they need to do. Third and short. Packers catch cover one with a heavy blitz look, and they have the perfect play call. The perfect play call. Just a little inside slant. Not that there's an outside slant. They catch a little slant from Christian Watson, and Watson takes it to the house. It was the answer that Green Bay needed as the Bears start to make their push. And Caleb Williams, trust me, we're going to talk about the defense, but Caleb Williams makes a couple of incredible plays in the second half. And that's just like in the NFL, you're going to run up against a team where they can make some plays. But the Packers able to answer in every situation where they absolutely had to answer. And the final drive is the perfect encapsulation of that, because the Bears are coming off what our pal Coach Jags likes to call an IV drive, where it was, I think it was 17 plays, and you're 17 plays, 83 yards. They convert 5 third downs. The Packers come back 8 plays, 65 yards in 4.5 minutes. And they leave some time on the clock for the Bears, but like they've got to score on that drive. What do you want them to do? They go right down the field like a hot knife through butter, and they get what turns out to be the game-winning touchdown. This offense against that defense, as I said all week, is a mismatch. I really botched that by screwing up the pronunciation of mismatch. But we are live on YouTube, so it stays. It stays. Just like this Packers defense. But to me, this game was won by the offense. And if the Packers are going to win again in Chicago in 2 weeks, it's going to be this offense that does the job. Because Bears fans got mad at me for saying it, but it was true when I said it. It was true on Sunday, and it's true right now. This is not a good Bears defense. If you don't turn the ball over, they cannot stop you. 6.5 yards per play, by the way, would lead the NFL right now. Like, that is elite offense. And the Packers really, if it weren't for the one Jordan Love interception, and it started with a sack and then the interception, if that doesn't happen, this game might not even come down to the final plays that it came down to, where ultimately Green Bay makes the plays that they need to make. But you look at the underlying numbers here. I mean, 6.5 yards per play versus 4.6 yards per play. 220 yards passing versus 177. In the red zone, the Bears go 2 for 4. That's the game. The Packers go 1 for 1. They create explosive plays in this game. Both teams turn the ball over. By the way, it could have been more than one turnover. We'll get to the penalties part of this, because the penalties, the officiating, oh my God. Oh my God. The officiating was a nightmare. What a nightmare. What a nightmare from this officiating crew. But Jordan Love, really outside of one throw, Jordan Love was spectacular in this game. The one throw on 3rd and long, you're trying to hit Matthew Golden up the seam, and he just short arms it. Like, C.J. Gardner-Johnson is right there in the middle of the play. And I don't know what happened. I don't know if the ball is cold and he wasn't able to layer it quite the way that he wanted. It goes right to the defender. Matthew Golden's open. If he can layer that ball, just throw it up a little bit higher. Just change the trajectory just a little bit. That ball goes exactly where you want it to go. Other than that, I thought Jordan Love was outstanding in this game. The offense overall was outstanding in this game. I understand 337 total yards. You're going to go, that's not very much. But 9 drives, that's 6.5 yards per play. That's really getting the job done. If you had 10, 11, 12 yards, this team would have had 400 yards of offense. They had over 200 at halftime. It was the defense that couldn't quite collect themselves in the moments where they could have taken down Caleb Williams, or where they couldn't quite, like Keyshawn Nixon comes a fingernail away from stopping a touchdown. If his hands were like, Kevin Durant's toes longer, right? KD, the famous missed 3 a couple years ago. Okay, you remember, maybe you don't. Look it up. This Packers team, I felt like for most of the game, really controlled the game. And it took out of structure plays. It took craziness for the Bears to even be in it late. It really did. I mean, Caleb Williams, and look, credit to Caleb Williams. He made some great plays. But it took Caleb Williams making some otherworldly throws just for this game to be close. And that's because the Packers offense did everything it needed to do in this game, aside from not turn the ball over. If Jordan Love just throws that ball over the defender and it gets picked off, like it's same outcome, interception. It's a 30-yard difference. Now, it's not like the Bears were able to get points off that, so it didn't matter ultimately, but it felt like if the Packers could have gotten points on that drive, a drive that they control, where Jordan Love is pinpoint, putting the ball wherever he wants, it didn't really matter. The Packers never really felt threatened in this game, because even when they got the ball with the tie game, they go right down and score. Like they were really in, and I said this on Thursday, I said this on Friday. I said this is going to be the kind of game where what happens is the Packers control it all the way, but the score doesn't ultimately reflect it, because that's just the kind of season the Bears are having. And that's true. And at 14-3, I thought, okay, well, maybe it turns out that the kind of season that the Bears are having is going to catch up with them here. And then the Bears come back and they play well. Like they deserve some credit for the way that they fought back in this game. Caleb Williams deserves some credit for the way that he fought back in this game. Ben Johnson, I thought, called a really good game. Like there's nothing I can say about like, oh, the coaching, whatever. But ultimately, the Packers won this game because they have Jordan Love and the Bears have Caleb Williams. And Jordan Love was just much better than Caleb Williams in this game, even for some of the great plays that Caleb Williams made. Caleb Williams, like you go back and you look at it, In the first half, he's 6 of 14 in this game for 32 yards. The 71 yards in the first half was the fewest yards any Ben Johnson offense that he called has ever had. 2.5 yards per play. They end with under 4.5 yards per play. NFL Sundays move fast. One big play and suddenly everything feels different. That's what makes live betting with FanDuel so exciting. You're not just watching the game, you're reacting to it in real time. With FanDuel, you can place bets as the action unfolds. Every drive, every momentum swing, every highlight moment. You can bet next touchdown scores, drive results, totals, and more, and keeps you locked into every snap, every drive, every possibility. So if you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. FanDuel, the game moves fast, and so can you.
Your Kansas City Chiefs are in unfamiliar territory as they sit at 6-7, headed into the final 4 games of the season.
From the land of the free and the home of the Chiefs, this is the Locked On Chiefs podcast.
Man, I don't even know where to begin with what comes next because this is uncharted territory for this Chiefs team. And how do you go forward at this point? I mean, you look at how this game played out. Yeah, Patrick Mahomes has 3 interceptions. How many of those are really on him? Which is a storyline we've had multiple times this season.
Right.
And I actually said this on the squad show. In a way, it's kind of funny is not the right word. It's ironic maybe that Travis Kelce started this run against the Philadelphia Eagles way back when and kind of almost ended it too.
Kind of, except there's 4 more games. Here's the thing, folks. Nothing's over. There will be tomorrow. There will be next week. And yes, you have to go back, and there's only a 10%-ish chance that you make the playoffs. So what do? You become like you were before Patrick Mahomes showed up, where you were a 500 team every year striving to get a couple more W's to get into the postseason. Then you take a step back and you retool and you enjoy the extra month of rest that this team hasn't had in 5 seasons. And you take what you can from that to rebuild and restructure the way you go about things for next season.
Yeah, and next season is going to be a big question. And you and I have talked about this for the past couple of weeks. Is it a possibility that this is just the longevity of how long this run has been, the fact that they've been playing 19, 20 game seasons for the entirety of pretty much Patrick Mahomes' career? Has that finally started to catch up to this team? One of the other things that I think that makes this interesting talking about this on the squad show was it also kind of, when you look back at what they've been doing for the past 6 years, they've been playing football basically till February. Mm-hmm. When you do that, you basically lose most of your chances of getting candidates that you maybe want for your coaching staff. And I think that there's a lot of coaching staff changes that could be coming because of the way that this team has been playing. But you look at how this game turned out, and it comes down to your players not making plays. Patrick Mahomes did okay at times, but Travis Kelce dropping a ball, Noah Gray dropped 2, Rashee Rice had one hit him in the hands. Kareem Hunt, I will say that ball probably a little bit inside and not where Mahomes would want it, but that's still a ball that you need to catch in that situation.
Yeah.
Just too many things that went the wrong way and bounced the wrong way, which is exactly, well, and Butker's kick as well. It bounced the wrong way. What has happened to this team this season? That has happened almost every single game. It seems like something has bounced the wrong direction.
It has. And we're going to talk about what the failures are and some of the standouts later in the show. But what comes next is what we're talking about here. And we have to be specific that those things still have to be fixed. This isn't the end of the year. We didn't just see the season finale, right? There's still a quarter of the season left, and you got to still figure things out. And there's a number of things. The fact that this defense looked like it should have looked like all season long is on you, Steve Spagnuolo, and it's on you, Chris Jones. The fact that you had to rally to get to this point is a problem. It should have been this every single damn week. That is the issue at large. And I think it's a good stepping stone because I thought you saw some things that if they are able to rekindle that and recircle it, if this defense can play like that, they have a chance to go win a few more games. And there is that slight chance of still making it in if everything else unwinds, like the Indianapolis Colts. There's still some mathematical things to do.
Yeah, that was a huge loss for the Colts, with not only just the loss of the game, but also losing Daniel Jones for the season. Changes the playoffs completely. The one thing I will say, you lose against the Chargers, which is your next game, you're done. The season's over. Then you still have 3 more games you still have to play, but then you start thinking, okay, do we maybe have Worthy have his surgery now? Do you not have him continue playing if you're mathematically eliminated from the playoffs? Why would you continue to have him go? Like, there are some things that I think that you consider. You get some guys, some younger guys, some reps. You don't have any chance that Josh Simmons is coming back because there's no reason at that point. But let's go back to let's talk about that for a second. When you start talking about what comes next for this offensive line, you lose Wanya Morris the first snap of the game. And I'm sitting there going, well, there goes that game. And Isapole comes in and plays phenomenal pretty much the entire game. Not saying he pitched a shutout and was perfect, but for the situation he was put in and for that being his first NFL game, he played very well for a undrafted rookie.
Yeah, he's one of the standouts we're going to talk about later in the show. While we wrap up what we're right in front of us, how do they take what they did and make it repeatable in any way, shape, or form? Because the special teams turned some things around tonight, right? I felt the intensity was there on special teams for the first time in a very long time. Like, that has to repeat next week and the week after that and the week after that. They continued to run the ball well. There were some terrible decisions. That's coming up in a bit as well. But the ability to run the ball was still there. And I think that's another thing that has to come next and over for the duration of the season, no matter who's at quarterback or left tackle or right guard.
You look at how this game turned out, and it is absolutely crazy that they were even in the game going into the second half. The way they played in the first half, they probably shouldn't have been in the game in the second half. And to be in the game in the second half and to come out and basically do what they did to the Houston Texans for the entirety of the third quarter, where I think the Texans had a -2 yards and still basically lose by another 10 points because you can't do anything in the fourth. Up and down, it doesn't even begin to describe it. Turning points easily drops and interceptions are some of the easier ones, but I'm sure you have one that you want to talk about to begin with.
Yeah, it is the turning point of the game for me. And you kind of just described what died when it happened. And that's the fact that you get yourself in a situation that you're in third and a long one. I couldn't care less if it's a long one. 4th and 1, 4th and 2, 4th and 3 at this point. You have proven you can get the ball done. And the coaching decision to not run, or at least not fake the run, was what turned this game. It made that down impossible to get unless Mahomes made some miraculous play yet again. And as we saw during the game, the knee injury is real and it is bothering him. So asking or thinking that he'd be able to do that was ludicrous to begin with. And the fact that Andy Reid and Matt Nagy blew that call derailed what that defense was doing. That sunk this game. Period. Job number one, no matter what. The injuries aside, the interceptions aside, that decision killed this game.
Are you talking about the 3rd and 1 before the 4th and 1?
No, I'm talking about the 4th and 1 itself.
Oh, the 4th and 1. Okay. You said 3rd, so I wanted to clarify.
I'm a little fired up. Sorry.
No, you're good. I just want to make sure I'm talking about the same play. But to me, like, what have we talked about all season long? We've talked about the need to stay aggressive. And and I will say this, the broadcast made the point, and I think that it's a valid point. Like, in that situation, the metrics say go for it by 3%. I wouldn't have necessarily cared regardless. I didn't like the play call. I will say that. But I would have also understood in that moment if Reed would have kicked. And I almost think he should have kicked as opposed to going for it on that down. Not necessarily because I think they shouldn't have put the ball in Mahomes' hands, but because what had you seen to that point? You had seen a dominant defense for the Chiefs that hadn't allowed Houston to do anything, and you kickstarted their offense by giving them the ball or having a chance to give them the ball on your own 30-yard line. To me, that was a dumb decision, and I have been somebody that has said all season long they need to stay aggressive and they need to keep going for it. That, in my opinion, was the wrong decision. They should have punted, and I know a lot of people won't agree with that. That's fine. But to me, they should have punted in that situation because of where you were on the field and because of the way your defense had been playing, which isn't going to play into the metrics that they're looking at in that scenario.
I mean, that's certainly an argument to be made. And I don't think it was a drastic, like you said, a 3% right there, right? So if it had come down to that and we were talking about, do you take the fourth down and make a play or do you punt? I think that's an argument worth having. It certainly should have been at the time. It's once you made the decision that you're going to go, the play selection was absolutely horrendous. And it didn't give you a chance to play into your strengths or to make sure that you had an option there to play off of it. By running that play that way, you limited yourself too much to play into that defense's hands. That's my problem. It wasn't the decision to go or not go. It was how you decided to go for me that I felt turned that entire game and nullified some big plays from Xavier, from Hollywood at some times. All the effort that went in on the defensive side, I think that took the sails out of the defense, and I think that's part of why that tone on the defensive side turned right then as well.
Yeah, well, and when you give them the ball where they're basically in field goal range before they even take the ball over, I mean,
NFL Sundays move fast. One big play and suddenly everything feels different. That's what makes live betting with FanDuel so exciting. You're not just watching the game, you're reacting to it in real time. With FanDuel, you can place bets as the action unfolds. Every drive, every momentum swing, every highlight moment. You can bet next touchdown scores, drive results, totals, and more, and keeps you locked into every snap, every drive, every possibility. So if you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. FanDuel, the game moves fast, and so can you.
The Pittsburgh Steelers get a big win in a way where they hit the Ravens where they weren't looking, and they give themselves some hope.
You are Locked On Steelers, your daily Pittsburgh Steelers podcast.
I'm wearing the bag of shame because I, Chris Carter, picked against the Pittsburgh Steelers in a game where they won, and they won in convincing fashion. A bet I once made with a fan. I now take this off because Steelers fans, it is a victory Monday for the Pittsburgh Steelers. They walked into Baltimore and beat them in their house 27-22 with big plays and big contributions from several people across the board. It is a huge win for the Pittsburgh Steelers. They advance to 7-6, reclaim first place in the division, bumping the Ravens down to 6-7. And with the Bengals losing, they're in an interesting spot in the AFC North the rest of the way. But we'll get to the division outlook later. We got to talk about this win, and where I have to say, Aaron Rodgers can tell me to shut the heck up in the next press conference. I kind of feel bad that I wasn't there in Baltimore to be able to give him the opportunity to tell me to shut the heck up, because I was on Aaron this week. I've been on Aaron in recent weeks about the deep passing game, why it wasn't there, what's not working, and he's been very patient. And you guys have seen he's kind of giving me some tough back and forths here and there, pushing back on my questions, and that's what he's supposed to do, man. He's an athlete. And as a reporter, I'm trying to, learn more. I'm trying to see more. I'm trying to, say, hey, what about this? What about that? I'm trying to ask the harder questions. And man, did he deliver in this one. Aaron Rodgers, 23 of 34 for 284 passing yards, a touchdown pass, a rushing touchdown, 103.1 passer rating. He was every bit of Aaron Rodgers in this game, the smart Aaron Rodgers that took what was there. And what was there, sometimes taking what was there isn't the check down. Sometimes taking what's there is getting the ball deep, and that's where the Ravens went. And I wrote about this for the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. Go read this. It's my latest Carter's Critiques column. It should be up. It should be like on their front of their sports page right now if you're watching or listening to this early Monday. But I really believe the Ravens came into this game with the same sort of game plan style that they did the last two times they played the Steelers. If you remember, we talked about this last week, Zach Orr, the Ravens defensive coordinator, was on Hard Knocks last year talking about Russell Wilson, saying, hey man, he's 3-pointers and he's layups. He can't hit the intermediate. So let's make a game plan. Don't worry about the intermediate. Take away these things. And then we have a game plan. It is without a doubt in my mind, the Ravens sat similarly this year and said, look, guys, they are one of the best short passing offenses in the NFL. By the way, they are. I looked this up on Sports Information Systems. They had, coming into this week, 6.2 net yards per attempt, an adjusted net yards per attempt. That's per Sports Information System. That's a formula that they have that kind of like judges like touchdowns, sacks, turnovers, along with yards per attempt. And on passes that traveled 10 yards or less, the Steelers are the most efficient offense at moving the ball in those instances. And so the Ravens undoubtedly came up with a game plan that said, hey, we're going to take that away. We're going to take the run away, and we're going to challenge. We're going to say, hey, you know what? Like last year, we didn't think they could hit the intermediate pass. We're going to say this year they can't hit the deep ball because they hadn't done it for 4 straight games. And the very first play of the game, 52-yard bomb to DK Metcalf. Things break wide open. Aaron Rodgers hit 4 deep balls in this game. I have to go back and I have to look at the charts because I'm doing this literally Sunday early evening after the game. We've done our Locked On Steelers squad show. I've done a bunch of different things. So I haven't had a chance to like comb through the film and calculate exactly or look at charts yet. But I'd be very curious to see Aaron Rodgers, his deep passing numbers and like what, how they played into this game and the efficiency of how he hit it in this game. Because when he hit it against the Ravens, I think it truly shocked the Ravens defense, and not just shocked in the, oh my gosh, they're doing it, but in a way that's like, crap, we made a whole game plan this week thinking we're going to take away all the underneath stuff in the run game. And now they're hitting us back here, and they've hit us with it more than once and now more than twice. We've got to adjust and take things and work on other things. And in doing so, I think that led to miscommunication, problems that they faced, and then the Steelers were able to get a lot more from their short passing game, like Jaylen Warren's basically walk-in 38-yard touchdown, which was just so bizarre. But I truly think it was because the Ravens were so focused on trying to take away quick passes and reads here and reads there, and it led to it led to them giving up the deep ball. And so when they had to account for the deep ball while also still trying to put in the checks that they had against the short passing game and the run game, I think that led to some mix-ups there. It also opened up the short passing game itself just to succeed. Kenneth Gainwell with a big third down conversion in the short passing game, and then some of the short passes that set them up to convert third down. The Darnell Washington completion where he got injured, but it was an important play to erase a long down and distance and led to the Steelers eventually converting on that next third down. I thought that was a big part of what happened in this game. And it was absolutely necessary because the Ravens clearly came out with a plan to stuff the Steelers run. Nothing that the Steelers tried worked in the run game. Jaylen Warren, 8 carries for 13 yards. We got to have a talk about that because that is not good. And that's not just on the O-line. I think there's some stuff going on there. Kenneth Gainwell, 4 carries, 15 yards. Basically he averaged 3.8 yards per carry. So no run game, but Aaron Rodgers gets it done through the air. And DK Metcalf, what a game from that guy. And I think a big way he stepped up. But I also think part of it comes to, if you are the Steelers and you're looking at this, something Aaron Rodgers said before this on Wednesday, and I think we played the clip here. I should have uploaded it for this game, but I don't want to replay old stuff. But Aaron Rodgers brought this up when I was asking about it, and he was basically saying like, hey, when it comes to the deep ball, we need our receivers to run better routes. We need to get better releases. We need to have better timing and understand like the spacing and things. Arthur Smith brought up the same thing. And so what did they do to work with that to make that a factor this week? Roman Wilson gets a healthy scratch. Not a good sign for him. But Adam Thielen, been here since Tuesday. He starts in the game. Marquez Valdes-Scantling gets promoted from the practice squad. And it's those two with DK Metcalf and Calvin Austin. And even though those two older vets that have been brought to the team really didn't do anything statistically, I think that their presence on the field, also Ben Skoranek being part of this is too. I don't want to minimize him. He made a big third down catch. Third down catch, but a big first down conversion for 13 yards. But I think it is important to know, I think these guys ran their routes the ways that Aaron Rodgers has been looking for, that's allowed him to set up what he's trying to set up cerebrally downfield. Now, I can't prove all that yet because I don't have the all-22 and I watched it at home like you guys, so saw the broadcast angle. So I'll need to see that. But just the feel that I got when I was watching how the Ravens were reacting and trying to call things out on defense, I think this game plan was smart. I think it was a big gamble on if they could hit it, because here's the other thing about this, guys, is that like the Steelers could have made this plan, and if Aaron Rodgers just misses on those deep balls to DK Metcalf and Calvin Austin, they lose this game and it's over. But they got aggressive, they bet on him, and the thing that he hadn't been doing, that really neither him nor Mason Rudolph had been doing, was hitting those deep balls, and they did in this game. And now if you're the Steelers, you've opened up something for your offense. You put yourself in a position where people do need to fear DK Metcalf. He was still getting double teamed in this game, but they found ways to loosen it up, and they found ways to take advantage of those double teams. I think if the Steelers, they don't have to hit on it 4 or 5 times a game like they did in this one, but if they can just show each game that threat is there, it will open up the other things and allow them to play that balanced style of offense that they were designed to play, so that no weight is too heavy on one specific player. And that's what I think this offense was always supposed to be. We got to talk about the defense, though. They didn't have their best day, but they also didn't have their worst day. I don't think they even really have a bad day. I think the Ravens came to play, but they showed the fight that this team needs if they're actually going to win this division. And it's a sign that this team is not giving up. They're not stale. They're not falling apart. They're locked in more than people realized.